Hello and welcome to the next series that I will be doing. This is Divinity Original Sin. It's a turn-based tactical RPG, fantasy-based, and you can either play it as single player or as co-op, and I will be playing it as co-op with someone I've played with before. So what I'm going to initially do is I will show you the character creation, some stats, or the stats, the way they work and all that, and then I will stop the video, invite the other person in, he'll create his character there and then we will start again from there. It's the first video into the actual series. So, we're going to go ahead, new game, multiplayer. It's a bit strange how it works, but this is how they do it. It's not that I create my character, he creates his and we join together. No, I basically control the game, and then he has to join in to my game to make his character and go from there, which is pretty cool. This is a Kickstarter project. It was released a fair few months ago, I think about 6 months ago, by Larian Studios, and it's had a huge praise. It's kind of like an old school RPG, very similar to the game I probably first played in this genre. Well, actually, my first one was Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura, but the first one like this was Dungeon Siege. And what I loved is you did actually have an actual pack mule which carried around all your items. Loved that game. It doesn't work too well nowadays, but if you ever get a chance to play it, Dungeon Siege, it's amazing. So, you start off with, you've got two characters. If you play single player, you control both of these characters, and you have a maximum party of 4 eventually. So you bring up a third, you bring up a fourth, and then go out to the big wide world, and off you go. If you play co-op, I control one of these, the other person controls the other one of these, and then we get 2 more NPCs that join us, which we also control ourselves. So in the end, I control 2 people, he'll control 2 people. Now, there are different classes, but to be fair, classes don't really mean anything in this game. It's kind of your starter. They're basically predefined. So we got a ranger, who's a marksman. Basically, they have your hunter class, your ranged melee class, or bows, I guess you should say. A rogue, which is your get in, stealth, stab, get out. Shadow blade, kind of the same thing, but a bit more stabby with a bit of magic, I believe, as well. A wayfarer is a survivalist and a practitioner of magic. They hit hard and are harder to evade. A witch, they are more to do with the summoning side of things. Wizard is straight up DPS, effectively. A battle mage is kind of a melee DPS with magic as well. A cleric is a healer. Also does damage to healer as well. Enchanter, they're more to do with air and water magic. And then you have a fighter, who is your melee kind of. I can't remember if they're the ones that have the short swords. They're not. No, I think they're the one-handed or two single-handed DPS. Knight is a two-handed DPS, and maybe actually the fighter's the one with the shield as well. Yeah, shield. There we go. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really define too much. It's basically predefined. It's not like you actually are a fighter. That's all you can be. So we'll go into that and what I mean. So you're going to customize, and you have this lovely little area here. And you have a bit of backstory, which is kind of for each of the character types. So we've flipped through. They're specifically the archers in the southern peaks need no introductions. Any lost human hunters or curious wanderers who happen upon them are made aware of this fact by a swift arrow through the heart. Self-sufficient nomads, the archers have no concern for the affairs of lowlanders and are loath to descend from the sparse mountains they call home. Only once in all history did the tribe deign to join the affairs of the mainland to fight the ever-encroaching war against the Source King Brachus Rex. Since Brachus' defeat, the archers have, once per generation, offered their finest soldiers to the Order of the Source Hunters in an effort to rout Source before it ever may rise again. These soldiers are unmatchable in Rebellion for their marksmanship and ability to strike unseen like a mountain wind. Now, Source Hunters is what we are. There's a magic out there called Source, and we are people who are there to try and make sure that it's not used in a way it shouldn't be used. I've played the game for about an hour or so, just to get a heads up on it. It is a huge game. The other person we're playing with has played for a few hours. He's barely out the starting entrance. It's a massive game, but we do have a little bit of experience with it. But that's the general gist of it. You have the Source out there. It's kind of magic. It's being used by other wizards or enchanters for the wrong reasons, and if something like that happens, we have to go out there and try and stop it and find out what happened. We investigate a bit, and I'm sure it leads on from there. I don't know really. It could be anything at all. Haven't got that far into it yet. So they all have these. I'm not going to go through them all at all, but they all have their own backstory, mini backstory. I'll start on this side because I don't generally spend too much time on these kinds of parts. So I will do, I'll spend a little bit of time just seeing what it's like. You've got male, you've got female. This is your portrait. As you see, absolutely tons of them. Pretty cool hair there. Bit like, is it Lelu in The Fifth Element? Great film as well. Personality, if they're the AI, you can sort of give them a different type of personality, which really does just change the way that they act, really. Voice.
Have I got anything that needs a good firing? I may have a blade or two that could use a honing.
A whetstone. Quite useful for a war-weary blade.
Why does everything she says sound a little bit, a bit saucy? That's a bit strange. But still, different voices.
Careful now. That's a trap. Look out. I see a trap nearby.
Which I think is great. Skin colour. Loads of different skin colours. Just quickly flick through them so you can see the different types. Get darker and darker to lighter, lighter. What's that colour? Obsidian. Absolutely tons of heads. Tons of heads. Go for a lighter colour so you can see the colour. Pure ivory. There we go. Beautiful. Hair. Yeah, I'll come back to that one because it's one of the funniest ones I had. It's absolutely tons. There we go. And we go for a nice orange, nice spiced ale afro with different underwear. I don't know why there's different underwear. There's different underwear as well. Lovely. And you can see him with or without armour. Now I'm going to randomise this. I'm not going to go over this at all. But on the left hand side you have different attributes. We're going to actually go and customize. This is what you'd have normally. So you've got your attributes, your abilities, your talents and your starting skills. This is what you are if you are a Shadow Blade, if you're a Wayfarer, etc, etc. However, you can customize. You can customize everything in here, which is why I was saying before, it doesn't really matter which class you pick. It does in that it gives you the starting skills, but it doesn't really mean you have to be a witch. You could be a witch and you can take different skills and you can go away and basically be a fighter. It doesn't really matter. We start with attributes because these are things that people are generally used to. So you have strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution, speed and perception. Strength determines how much your chance to hit with strength-based weapons, so your melee things basically. It improves man-at-arms skills and how much you can carry, increases the weight of items you can move and how far you can throw them. It's quite a unique feature in the game is that you can actually pick up items. So if you're running along and you see a barrel over here, you can actually drag it with your mouse and put it there, plonk it down. And that is used. It's used for traps. It's used for if it's one that's say an oil barrel, you could probably move that, use a fire arrow or a fire spell, blow it up, boom, it kills people. It's part of the game. It's something you want to be doing. Dexterity determines your chance to hit with dexterity-based weapons. So thinking of possibly daggers. I don't know about that, but definitely bows. Improves expert marksman and scoundrel skills. So yeah, it'll be daggers as well, and influences your defense rating. So I guess as a melee or a tank you kind of want these ones here. Intelligence improves elemental and witchcraft spells. We'll go into those a bit later. Constitution determines how much vitality you have and your max number of action points. When you do the turn-based fighting you have a set number of action points, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them maybe, and your spells cost, if you look on the right hand side, uses 3 action points, uses 6. So intelligence determines, constitution determines how many action points you have at the start of each turn. You do carry them over if you don't spend them, so if you have 8, you spend 6, you have 2 left over, the next turn you'll have 10. I'm sure there is some sort of max, but I'm not sure at the top of my head. Speed affects your movement speed, your initiative, I think it really means who goes first, and how many action points you can use in combat. And perception affects your critical chance, initiative, so your constitution must be your maximum amount of action points, and speed is how many you can use whilst in combat. So you may have a maximum amount of 10, but in combat, if you've got really low speed, you can use, say, 5 at a time. So if you go down 5 to 3, you have 2 left over. Next time you may still be able to go up to 5 because you can't use more than 5 whilst in combat. Perception affects your critical chance, initiative, starting action points in combat, ability to detect traps, and accuracy when shooting over long distances. That is also inclusive of spells. So for me, I'm going to be going for more of a wizardy kind of, not wizard actually, more of a witchy kind of person. So I'm going to probably want high perception, start with the person seeing the traps, and high intelligence as my 2 main ones, and probably a bit of constitution as well to have the action points there, and a bit of health buffering. I might want to get some speed just to make sure. Well, I'd like to go first because I'm going to be doing a bit of defensive shielding and stuff like that, but we will see. Okay, on the right hand side you've got abilities and talents. Abilities, there's a fair few of them. It's split up into weapons, so you have your bow, crossbow, single-handed and two-handed. Level 1 gives a 10% damage boost and it goes up from there. Defense, armor specialist, improves your armor rating by 5% per point and decreases heavy armor movement penalty by 20% per point. Bodybuilding, Affects saving throws against knocked down, burning, bleeding, crippled, blinded, weak, diseased, infected, and drunk. There are a lot of debuffs, a lot, well over 20 debuffs, probably even over 30. I can't remember exactly how many there were, but there's a lot of debuffs in the game, a lot of buffs in the game as well. They all do different things. You may have a minus 30% chance to hit, you may lose damage over time, you may be dazed for a while, which just means you can't hit past maybe a few meters, those sorts of things. Bodybuilding helps you from not getting hit by that. There are counters, I think, there. Bloodletting. See on the right hand side, saving throw, bodybuilding. So I think that means it basically gives you a much higher chance to not get, not be able to have bloodletting affect you. Or it might mean actually in total that it won't happen at all, but we'll see. Shield Specialist. Shield Specialist increases chance of blocking when using shields. Gives 5% blocking shields. Willpower. Affects saving throws against magical and mental spells. Affects saving throws against feared, mute, charmed, frozen, stunned, cursed, slowed, and petrified. Skills. This is where all of your spells, abilities, however you want to call them, are all based. Not actually abilities, because that's that there. You have Aerothurge. Aerothurge? Yeah. Determines how many Aerothurge spells you can learn and how many action points it costs to use higher level Aerothurge spells. Now, all of these, if you get level 1, you can use 3. You can have 3 of them at one point on your action bar along the bottom. At level 2, you can use 5. And you can also use higher level versions as well, because these are all skill level 2, skill level 2, skill level 2. If you have higher skill level ones, you have a massive penalty to it if you do not have a high enough level here. So you could have, say, Geomancer 1 means I can use 3 Geomancer spells. However, if I had a rank, say, 5 or rank 8 spell, it really wouldn't work very well at all, because basically I don't have the proficiency to use it. So Aerothurge, these are all to do with lightning spells. They're damage, they've got a bit of utility about them, quite a bit of utility as well. Marksmen are more ranged DPS, as a bow and arrow. They have, I think, some sort of cures as well. Geomancer are a bit of earth damage, but also defensive spells. Hydro Sophist is to do with water, and you can have damaging spells, also curing, and I think chilling is underwater, and if you chill and then chill again, you freeze them. Man at Arms is your physical abilities. Pyrokinetic is all fire. Scoundrel is your stealthy, and Witchcraft are your... They've got a lot of buffs, debuffs, and some summoning spells as well. Now myself personally, I want to become a Witchcraft, so I want to have the buffs and debuffs, and I also want to have the... I think it's Aerothurge. I'll have a check. I'll get rid of Summon Spider. And these are your starting spells. I initially thought these were all the spells in the game, and I thought, that's a bit naff, really. It's not at all. These are your starting spells. There are a lot more spells. There's at least, I think, 15 to 20 per area, or per specialisation. There's a lot of spells. So for me, I'm thinking, Aerothurge. Aerothurge wants to do with lightning and damage, and from Witchcraft, we've got Oath of Desecration, which gives... I think it's a 50% damage boost to your ally, which is very, very nice. Enfeebling Touch, which is a weakened status. I think that's minus 50%. Yeah, weakened lowers damage by 50% and strength by 2. Damage of target increased by 50%. And Bloodletting, rip your target apart as if it was slashed with a sword. With a sword, if it has blood, it will bleed. So for 6 action points, 5 to 6 slashing damage, but it will then bleed on top of that, which does even more damage. Now, Geomancer is, you've got slows, you've got a bit of poison, and you've got a spider which does poison as well. It's really nice, but I'm thinking there's not going to be enough damage in it really over time, and this is more to do with buffs and debuffs, so I think I want a bit of damage. For me, Aerothurge is quite a bit of damage on its own, and I might get 1 point in Hydro Sophist later on, because if you can make people wet, which you can if you're on the first tier, you have one called Rain. You can make people wet. If they're wet, they have a 30% chance to be stunned by your lightning spells. So they couple well together. So I think I'll have probably 1 point in here a little bit later on. But for now, got Teleportation. So we throw an item or character up high and drop it to the ground, dealing 13 to 16 crushing damage. For 7 action points though, it's very expensive. It's probably like a whole turn there. But you can move people 15 meters away, which I think is very, very useful. Head Vice is 6 points for 9 to 11 damage, and you've got set chilled status, so we can chill them. Less resistance to water spells, again, means they kind of, these two do work well together. And if you're an enchanter, you would have these two, but I really wanted the witchcraft spells. And chilled slows people down. If you chill them again, they get frozen. So I think for now we have teleportation instead. So a bloodletting, teleportation, and a buff. Gonna leave the points as they are, like the high intelligence, speed and perception. And so these ones are all done. Personalities next. Bartering determines your haggling skills with traders. So every character you come across, I think it's explained a bit later, you can trade with. They all have their own items, and I think it's every level. Every time you level up and you go back to see them, they'll have new items. And your bartering just basically gives you a discount on what you have. Charisma determines the first impression you make on other people, and your talent for charming, intimidating, and reasoning. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to explain why with the other guy a bit later, but I think I want to have this. Purely because I don't want leadership, I don't want bartering, and I don't really care much about Lucky Charm. Maybe I will get Lucky Charm, but we'll see. But it's nice to have good impressions with people, because if they're happy with you, they're nice with you, they get more likely to give you good things. This game it's incredibly in depth and involving, and that's in a good way. I mean, you go up to people, there's a lot of reading to be done, and we're going to split that out between us because it's probably nicer if we say things rather than have you read them. But there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of options that can come out of it. You can read something, and if you're nice with them, or if you've helped them out or something, they can go down a whole other route, and they can have these weird random conversations with people. And it's really quite fun. So if you have higher charisma, it's nice to have. And I'm also going to probably take a talent that's going to reduce it a bit as well, so I kind of want to balance that out. Blacksmithing, crafting, which is blacksmithing, crafting, lawmaster, and telekinesis. So for blacksmithing, you can repair armor, but you can also forge or create metal enhanced weapons and armor. Crafting allows you to just do standard crafting, which is very strange. You have your inventory, and you can basically drag one item onto another item, and if it is a bit like how Minecraft is, it'll create the item for you. Lawmaster allows you to identify items and identify, I think, creatures as well. You need to get an identifying glass. Okay, so I want to have that. I like that very much. And telekinesis determines the range and weight of items you can move telepathically. I don't think that's this. I think that is when I said about drag in, drop in. Hopefully. So that's about how far you can move things there. Maybe I need to get a point in this. We will see. It could be. It doesn't say it's affected by it though. Anyway, nasty deeds are the final ones. Lockpicking, pickpocketing, and sneaking. So lockpicking is complexity of locks and how fast you can do it. Pickpocketing is you can actually pickpocket other people. The higher the score, the more advanced person, more perceptive person you can pickpocket from. And sneaking is you can determine how you can sneak without getting caught, so you can actually move around hidden to then do things like lockpicking and pickpocketing and whatnot. But I'm not like that, so I don't need that. I think that's more for a roguish type. So that's kind of how I'm going to have it set up here. Talents. There's quite a lot of these as well. We're not going through all these at all. These ones here are more for high level, or you need to have other abilities beforehand. First off, there's Pet Pal and Walk It Off. Pet Pal allows you to talk to animals, which I find quite useful. I like the idea of it. I feel like there will be parts of the game where if you talk to an animal, you'll find out things you probably wouldn't have found out otherwise, so I'm going to keep that. Walk It Off reduces all status durations by 1 turn. It also affects positive statuses. I don't want that, so I'm getting rid of that. Let's go through random ones. Elemental Affinity lowers the action point cost of spells by 1 when standing in a surface of the same element. So I guess if you're standing in fire, your fire spells lower action points. If you don't, you're already standing in fire, so it's a bit strange. Pack Mule lets you carry more weight. Water Rush increases your recovery and maximum action points by 2 when your health is below 30. So there's quite a lot of different types in here. Now for me, initially, I was going to go for a Know-It-All, which lowers everyone's attitude by 20 because you have 1 extra intelligence points. Or the other option is Scientist, which gives a bonus point in blacksmithing and 1 in crafting. So if I have that, I now have 1 in blacksmithing, crafting, and Lawmaster. But I'm not sure if blacksmithing and crafting is really for me, or if that's more for a melee character. I'm not sure. So the other option was really to go for a Know-It-All. Everyone dislikes me by 20, but I get 1 extra point in intelligence straight off, which increases the damage of everything. So, I think I'll go Scientist. It means I can do blacksmithing and crafting, and then the other guy can spend his points in probably other things which are more important, more defensive maybe, because I know he's going for a melee character. But we'll see. So we're going to accept that. That's going to be my starting stats. And the way I look, there's no randomise. I basically randomise 5 times. Whatever I come out with, I use that. Let's go for Wizard Voice. I don't want to look too strange. Bit of that, very standard. Look at that. That's great. There we go. In fact, let's just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brilliant. There we go. That is my wizard. My witch, sorry. Which I shall accept. And I will now rename him to Miganto. Okay, so what we'll do is end the episode here. I'm going to have the other guy join in. He'll create his character and we'll go from there. Once that happens, we'll restart it. And then we can go from actually start from there. He'll be talking along with it. It'll be great. I'll see you guys then. This is just the start. And the actual first episode will be next. See you then. Bye bye.